10 Republican senators are calling on Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to cancel their August recess in order to advance the president's agenda. The senators, led by David Perdue of Georgia, want progress made on 5 priorities: health care, funding the government, the debt ceiling, the budget, and tax reform. And they point out there are only 33 working days left until the end of the fiscal year. Joining me now is the executive editor for the Weekly Standard, Fox News contributor Fred Barnes, and senior editor at the Federalist, Mollie Hemingway. Good to see you both. So, Mollie, first of all, on this vacation cancellation, I can't recall senators or congressmen ever giving that up. Do you think there's a possibility of that?
It's actually kind of amazing that they're talking about it, and I think that there is definitely a possibility, in part because if they don't get these types of things done, their electoral chances in the next year are going to be very grim. So I think everyone kind of understands the importance, and also just the work has not been completed. It's okay that it's taking a long time to work out some of these problems with repealing and replacing Obamacare, but you have to finish your work before you get to go home.
Fred, I don't know. I don't buy it'll be done. What do you think?
I'm a little dubious. I think maybe they'll knock a week off the recess or something like that. I don't know why all these members of Congress hate Washington in August. I've lived here my whole life. I've survived. It's not
well,
that bad.
I was anxious to get out of it. I grew up there. I didn't like the summers there. But let me ask you, Fred, about the whole Medicaid issue, because that's really at the heart of what the debate is right now, whether you continue the extraordinary expansion of Medicaid that we have under Obamacare, so that it went from kind of a help for the indolent and folks who are really desperate to an entitlement for more people that are under Medicare right now. Is that battle lost, the battle to bring Medicaid back to where it was before Obama?
No, I don't think the battle's lost. I think this bill, if done properly, can slow down where Medicaid's headed, and that's, of course, to a single-payer system. But look, the most important thing right now is to pass a bill in the Senate. If they don't pass a bill, it's going to hurt every member. It's going to hurt the Republican Party. It's going to almost guarantee a Democratic wave election the next year, because Republicans will stay away. So if you have to give a little bit on Medicaid just to get the bill passed, I would do it.
Well, Mollie, let's talk about some of the Republican opponents to the bill, because frankly, they favor more towards the Obamacare version of Medicaid than they do towards what Rand Paul is talking about. Rob Portman is leading the charge. He wants to leave Medicaid spending at least for a year or so up to where it's been. The interesting thing about him is that 3 years ago, the Wall Street Journal published an editorial by him that says the longer we wait to enact reforms, the more abrupt and painful they will be. It is time for everyone to come together and start to erase the red ink. That's what he said 3 years ago. Very different from what he's saying now.
Oh, there is such a cravenness with politicians on both sides of the aisle, frankly, because Democrats actually also were calling for a serious reform of the Medicaid expansion or Medicaid problems. I mean, right now, that was a program that was designed to help poor people. It's currently being used to subsidize wealthier people who are childless, as opposed to single women with children, which was sort of the intention originally. This is something that's unsustainable, so it needs to be done. Rob Portman from 3 years ago was correct that the longer you wait, the more difficult things get. And in fact, that's the entire problem we have right now. It would have been very easy to repeal Obamacare a couple years ago, and now that people are more comfortable or familiar with the program, it would be very disruptive. But the Senate plan offers some pretty good changes. It's a good step in the right direction, and it kind of changes the architecture of the Medicaid system in a way that would be helpful even if there are electoral changes in the years ahead.
Fred, let's talk about leadership for a second. Republican leadership in the Senate. Mitch McConnell, is he doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes? He left himself about $200 billion over a 10-year period in his bill, as opposed to the House bill, to play around with. That is, for people like Rob Portman who want more spending for Medicaid, maybe he can put some there to satisfy. Is there enough room for McConnell to maneuver to get a bill?
Well, I think there is enough room for McConnell to get a bill. And remember, you know, one of the things that's so great about Senator McConnell, he always has a plan. And if one doesn't work, he has another plan. And I think he's going to wind up being successful here. And one of the plans is to get the CBO, make some tweaks that will affect the Congressional Budget Office numbers, which are wildly exaggerated anyway, but they have an impact on the outcome here. So you know, I'm not betting against Mitch McConnell, that's for sure.
And finally, Mollie, what about the president's idea of splitting it, having part of it pass now and part of it pass later?
This was the original Freedom Caucus plan, and it actually is a great idea, and it's a good way to kind of apply pressure and get everybody focused on the same shared goal, and it gives everybody some time to work out some of these issues. If you just repeal, have a couple-year period where people can adjust to the change and come up with a really good plan, it might be the way to go.
You know, on a Friday of a holiday weekend, let's leave. I know he's shaking his head no, but let's leave it on a positive note. Fred, we'll bring back your pessimism next week. Good to see both of you. Thank you very much. Have a great July 4th, by the way.